In this video, we're going to be taking a look at the day 2 and some of day 1 action as well. A lot of information has come my way since overnight, and I've been able to reflect on day 1 and give you guys a little bit more information, a little bit more insight into the likes of Hamilton's line, Antonelli's work, the rotation or over rotation of the Mclaren as well. There's a lot of things that I want to really double click on in this video, and also speak a little bit about what happened in day 2, the AM session as well. If you're interested in what my thoughts are, definitely keep watching. Welcome back to the channel, guys. My name's Martin. I'm a specialist technical coach and mentor for open formula drivers. If you're new to the channel, welcome. I am going to try to put out a video after every session this year, so definitely subscribe to this channel moving forward. And I'm going to try to give you an insight on the technical, tactical, and mental sides of a driver and driver performance. So what does that mean? Technical, everything about the technique, how they use the pedals, how they use the downshifts, their technique in the wet, ability to read telemetry. Lando Norris is fantastic in this area. Tactical, your starts, your attack, your defense, your racecraft, your strategy. Max Verstappen is excellent in this area. And your mindset, your mentality. What is a champion's mentality? What does it mean to upset and try to take on each other's mentality, like we saw George and Max do towards the end of last year? Max has a champion's mentality. George Russell has a champion's mentality. Kimi is coming in and Liam Lawson are coming in with good mentalities as well. Lewis seems to be regaining confidence. So that's all on the mental side, and we're going to talk to that as well as and when we need to. In this video, like I said, we're going to recap some of day 1 and also touch on day 2 as well. So if you did see my day 1 video, I was talking about the line that Lewis Hamilton was taking into turns 9 and 10. It's a decreasing radius corner, which means it gets tighter as you go through. Your trail braking is important. Your engine braking is important. I spoke about that yesterday, but we got some images and I want to have a look at Kimi Antonelli's line as well. And just to highlight to you exactly what was going on, and then see if Lewis has changed and why he might be taking this line and that sort of thing. So let's bring it up on the screen together now, and hopefully you can have a look at it. So this is the entry into turn 9. And what you should notice is Kimi Antonelli's right front swallowing the curb, in a sense saying, I'm not that interested in the turn 9 apex / entry point here. I want to go around turn 9 and get a good line, good braking, good entry for turn 10. Hamilton here, and this is on their fastest laps, by the way, guys. Hamilton here, his right front is pretty much inside track limits here. So that's half a car width worth on entry here. And this is where the corner really starts to unfold. And, you know, your entry is dictates what happens as, like I say, as the corner unfolds. This is the midpoint in the corner. This is turn 9. As you can see turn 10 here with Lewis a little bit further on. But again, have a look at the distance now, the left front. So Hamilton is always a step tighter. If you've been following the channel, you'll know about the tight line. You'll know about the pros and cons, and I'm going to get onto that in a second. But Hamilton a step tighter. He's very close to this turn 9 curb. He's braking here. He's not going to be using all of the track. Whereas Kim is saying, no, I'm going to go around turn 9 and have a straighter approach into turn 10, be able to carry more speed in and out of turn 10. Let's go to turn 10 then and have a look at the steering angle. This is really important. And when you look at the steering angle, you've also got to understand the context, because we're going to be looking at Lando's steering angle as well in a minute. And the context here is that Kimi, by being slightly wider, is able to carry more speed into this corner. And what that means, therefore, is he's able to get the steering into a position where he can really wind it on and take advantage of the speed that he's carried into the corner. Whereas what Lewis is doing here, he's not able to put that much lock on. And in this case, I see that as a disadvantage. Kimi able to add more steering lock. He's more confident and more comfortable in his use of the friction circle. Let me just bring up the whiteboard now to explain how the friction circle works and explain to you what Kimi Antonelli is doing in this corner. Okay, so look, the friction circle is just a representation of G-force, but I like to use it in terms of capacity. So if we just draw a circle here and we say this is braking capacity, steering capacity, one way and another, and then throttle capacity, what Kimi's doing into this corner is trying to have the steering wheel as straight as possible to get the most braking capacity. And then when you add steering, you need to come out of the brakes. So come out of the brakes and add your steering. Come out of the brakes and add your steering. Come out of the brakes and add your steering. Come out of the brakes and add your steering. And this is the important part right here. When Kimi's totally off the brakes, he's able to get to the maximum steering capacity and ask for full steering capacity from the tires. Whereas Lewis is not quite able to achieve that position. He's probably still on the brakes, and that's why he can't achieve that position. He's probably done this one, this one, this one, and this one, but Kimi's got that extra access to grip. And that's how I like to use the friction circle. Now, look, this is not how it should be used or what it should be used for. But as you can see, it's a visual representation of the trail braking that's happening as you move around this circle into a decreasing radius corner like turns 9 and 10 in Bahrain. So I thought I'd share that with you guys and just give that to you as an insight into why Kimi has put additional steering lock here into turn 10 and the benefits it can have. Now, look, we need to talk about Lewis for a second because Lewis is cheeky. Now, the first thing is, let me give a bit of context. Lewis is the sort of guy that he'll come on the radio and say, Bono, my tires are dead. And then 2 laps later, he's setting purple sectors, doing fastest lap of the race. And you're like, hang on, what's going on here? He said his tires are dead. Have they recovered or what's going on? No, that's Lewis Hamilton. He's cheeky. He will, sleight of hand, and he will do these sort of cheeky things just as a distraction, right? Lewis is as much invested in himself as he is in confusing other people as well. Because he's got 7 titles behind him and everyone's looking at him, he kind of leverages that and takes advantage of that. So 2 things. Number 1, I've seen Lewis clean up his line today on day 2. I've seen him head more towards the Kimi Antonelli line. So either 2 things have happened. He's reviewed it and realized that it's not the right way to go. Or like I say, he's just playing with us and giving us something curious, like this line's faster. Anyway, that's kind of why I'm here as well, to help say, no, Lewis, the line he took yesterday was rubbish and the line he's taking today looks a lot better. So look, take from that what you will. I don't know if it was on purpose or not, but that's what I've seen, is that Lewis has cleaned that up now as at day 2 in Bahrain testing. Now, look, let's talk about the implication of such a line. I'm going to bring up some telemetry now from day 1 as well, because it's just become available to me as at day 2. And I'm going to pick the fastest laps from Hamilton, Antonelli, and Piastri, who were the guys in the first session. So let's bring that up now. They were in the AM session, and hopefully you can see that on the screen in front of you. So this is all their lap times and all their data. And I just click select fastest laps. And I put my cursor here at turns 9 and 10, and we zoom in and have a look. And the most important thing that I'm looking at here is who is the guy on the throttle first. Remember, we've got Antonelli's fastest lap in aqua, Piastri's fastest lap in orange, and Hamilton's fastest lap. This is the AM session yesterday. So who's the guy first on throttle? It's Kimi Antonelli. No surprise here. We could see that from the images, right? The line was better. Carry more speed in, carry more speed out. Antonelli, if we look at the throttle chase in aqua, bang, he's the one first to full throttle. Followed by Oscar Piastri, who's here at 93 while Lewis is still at 83. Oscar gets to 100% there. Lewis is at 97. And it's Hamilton who's the last one getting to full throttle. And that's not the car, not Lewis. It's all got to do with the line, guys. So that's what I wanted to highlight to you. Antonelli's the one taking advantage of the whole situation. I notice here, he's the one smashing the gears down quicker as well. And when you don't have braking capacity, that's exactly what you want to do, is leverage more engine braking. So you see here in aqua, these steps coming down, Antonelli's first one to second gear, whereas Piastri's a little bit later to second gear. And Hamilton, being in the Ferrari engine, finds that third gear is the way to go. He's also later on to the DRS as well. So everything just gets pushed back. And I wanted to highlight that to you guys as being implications of the line that Antonelli is taking and implications of the line that Lewis is taking. While we're on telemetry, I thought it'd be good to have a look at the top speeds. Again, they only just came out, and I'm just curious as well. So let's have a look at those. And if I just pick the fastest drivers towards the end of the session and pick their fastest laps, that's Leclerc, Verstappen, and Norris. And if we just zoom in here on turn 1 and have a look, see what's going on, we can see Verstappen's here at 3:14, which looks like the fastest. Leclerc gets to 3:15 momentarily before he breaks. So the Red Bull and Ferrari, 3:14, 3:15. But you got the McLaren there in 3:10. So that's interesting. That's, 3 to 5 kilometers slower. Again, these speeds are kind of fluctuating a little bit. So 3 to 5 kilometers per hour slower. Not that that's particularly insightful at this stage of testing, but, it's a check that we need to do and just see what's going on. Do McLaren have more downforce? Who's got the flexi wings? who's got more engine power. It's all that sort of thing, right? So that's the sort of insight you can get. But for now, it's just noted. But looks to be an absolute weapon. As per the thumbnail of this video, I think I wrote monster because, again, now the onboard from Lando, one of Lando's laps yesterday, has come out and I've had a chance to have a look at it. And my God, the thing has some serious front end grip. Now, you've got to remember, with big, heavy cars, 800 kilogram cars, and full tanks of fuel and race setup and so on, these cars are quite clumsy, quite lazy to turn into slow speed corners. So the focus for McLaren, at least, has always been like to get the slow speed understeer out of the car. That's why Lando could dominate and take pole on tracks like Netherlands last year with a lot of long corners of constant radius, and Hungary as well. That's where McLaren were particularly strong due to the front grip of the car. And then they were strong in the Monzas and the Bakus due to the flexi wing and the straight line speed of the car. So they had two big weapons last year. And then you've got tracks like Singapore where everyone was saying, well, it's not so top speed efficient, you know, you don't need the flexi wing and all that. But then it spoke to the mechanical grip and mechanical side of the car. So let me just frame these two for you and see what's going on. Why does the McLaren have so much front wing, so much front grip, sorry. We're going to bring up a video in a second and have a look at it together. Actually, why don't we do that first and then we'll speak to why it might have so much grip. So let's take a look at this lap from Lando. And if you know what you're looking at, hopefully you'll see how much grip it has. We'll listen to it together and I'll call out what I see here. So we've got turn 1, we've got turn 4 and turn 8 as well. So they're the really slow speed corners. Let's have a look together. Here we go. So just the way he's able to add steering lock and the rotation that the car gets there. This is turn 4. Again, it really hooks up the corner well. Like if anything, he's opening the steering for the rear. Now this is chaos, guys. I'm going to pause this here. This is down into turn 8. And a lot of trail braking happening here. So this front grip that the McLaren has even caught Lando Norris out because every time you're turning the steering wheel or pushing the brake pedal, you're making a prediction for how much grip you're going to have. Lando's turned in from this position thinking that he's going to go on the trajectory he wants. But what does he have to do just before the apex? Have a look at the steering wheel. Bang, he opens up the steering just for a fraction of a second. I'll take that back. And has another go at turning in. Why is that? Because the front grip has caught him out. Turn, 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 turn. Open and then turn again. So he's realized that if I continue on this trajectory, this thing's got so much front grip that I'm going to clip the inside curb and basically not be where I want to be. So actually he could brake later and carry more speed in because there's more front grip to be able to do that. Now check this out. Really what's interesting on the exit, I'm not sure if you picked it up, but the car's got so much rotation in it that at this point, it's a traction issue for Lando. And I would have ordinarily thought that this was just, driver putting too much throttle down or whatever. But then today on day 2, I've seen Oscar have the same issues as well. So let's just play that back one more time because it's just, have a look. Look how he can just add the steering lock there. That's the sign that... This is better if I don't speak. It's just monster front end. And there's the correction. So look, this has big implications, guys, because, well, they've got a surplus of front grip here. So what does that mean? Well, firstly, is that going to suit Lando or is that going to suit Oscar more? They've gone into the direction of more and more and more front grip. It's a different car to last year. So that's the first thing. They've done their little anti-dive suspension. It's caught Lando out here in terms of it's given him more front end than what is expected. And then it's over rotated as the corners dragged on the exit as well. So will that take some getting used to from Lando? Does he like that? It's almost like the front end is super sharp, super pointy. Alex Albon described that Max would love this because it's like having a mouse on high sensitivity. Like wherever you point, it just goes, and it's going to take some adapting for the drivers as well. Let me just bring up an image that I had to highlight this to you as well at turn 1. Check this out, guys. This is turn 1. This is a comparison between Hamilton and Lando. And what I want to highlight to you guys is the difference in steering angle once again. Now, forget everything that we did with Kimi Antonelli and Hamilton. That was different lines, that we were looking at different timings we were looking at totally different things here. Whereas here, what I'm seeing is into turn 1, after the straight line braking and a pretty line locked corner where you can't really play around with your rotation too much. Have a look at the steering that Lewis needs to get through turn 1. You have a look at his left hand and the steering, it's almost upside down. And then have a look at the steering that we just saw from the video, which I've freeze framed and taken a screenshot of Lando's steering that he needs to get around turn 1, which he was adding. And like, this is maximum for him. He pretty much opens it up after that and away he goes. This is telling for me. This shows me the Mclaren has got an SH1T load of front grip, and in the race, it's going to be a monster. Its ability to also follow in dirty air is going to be a monster. Its strategic options by not running out of front tires is going to be a monster. And whatever McLaren have done in terms of their upgrades seems to be working quite well, to the extent that they're getting over rotation down there at turn 8 as well. So that's easy to dial out. Like, you can always wind things back a little bit. But now look, let's start to talk about what might be causing this. Now look, it's flexi wing, like we mentioned, on one side and anti-dive on the other. I'll touch on these topics because they're not my area of expertise. I'm going to have a stab at what I think is happening here. The flexi wing is never designed to give downforce, never designed to give grip. The flexi wing is designed to back off on the straights and give top speed. So that's not here nor there. Now look, if you've got a really good flexi wing compared to your competitors, you can afford to run a higher level of downforce and know that it's going to back off on the straight. That's fine. But the advantage of the flexi wing is the top speed. It's not really the additional downforce. You can claim it and get paid in additional downforce if you like, but you otherwise you're going to be paid in top speed, all things being equal. So that's one reason why I don't think it's the flexi wing. The second reason why I don't think it's the flexi wing has got to do with the speeds that the cars are doing in these corners that we're talking about here. I'm going to bring up the data just for a second so we have a look at the speeds. Hopefully you can see that on the screen. This is Lando's 30.4 from yesterday. Now the minimum speeds in these corners that we're talking about, turn 1, 73 kilometers at the apex at the screenshot that I just gave you. Where's this? That's down there at turn 8 where he had the over rotation. We're looking at 82 kilometers per hour. I'm just going to zoom in here so we can get the exact figure. Yeah, 82 kilometers. And then later at turn 10, another 82 kilometers. So look, you've got 70, is it even less than 78? What are we looking at here? 71 kilometers at turn 1. So we're looking at 71 kilometers and then 82. Guys, downforce is not, and this is, again, this is an unpopular opinion, and I'll be happy to be corrected on this, but downforce is not doing much at those speeds, right? An aeroplane sitting on the runway at 0 kilometers per hour, not because it doesn't have wings on it, because it's not doing any velocity. The front wing is fully loaded and fully active in a corner like Copse and Pouon and Stowe. But here in Bahrain at 70 kilometers, I'm not sure how much it's doing, right? So therefore, I put the aero side and the flexi wing, I kind of put all that to one side, and I'm thinking it's got more to do now with the anti-dive suspension. Now this is where it gets technical, and again, I'm not sure how exactly it's working. The mechanical changes that they've made to the suspension also have aerodynamic platform implications as well. But again, just given the speeds here, I'm not sure how much implication it can have really at those speeds. So what the anti-dive is designed to do is when you brake, the nose typically shoots forward and all the weight comes across, and the anti-dive is designed to prevent the chassis from dipping down. Twofold really. One, to keep that platform stable, to keep that aerodynamic platform and harmonious fluid flow across the car, keep all that stable. But that won't really add to your front grip. That's just going to add to your consistency and overall grip. I'm not sure. Again, I'm just speculating here. But I think where the magic is that for some reason, the tires are experiencing less load, less weight coming onto them, and they've got more ability to be able to corner. And that's what I think it is. I think it's got to do on the mechanical side, on the geometric side, things like roll center of gravity, weight, and so on. I don't think it's flexi-wing. So look, I thought I'd call that, but you guys let me know what you think in the comments below. Like why has the McLaren got so much front grip is what I want to know. Now look, just quickly jumping on to day 2, it was a bit damp and still windy and still cold in the AM session this morning. A lot of the drivers that we saw using extra track on entry, like we spoke about yesterday, Antonelli was using a lot of extra track. But if you were doing that in these slightly damp, slightly cooler conditions on the paint, you were locking up rears. And so we saw a few drivers go off just under braking, locking up rears on the paint on the entry curbs. So it's just a reminder that when it does get damp and does get wet like that and slippery, you've got to come inside and either brake off the rubber and off the paint. So you just got to be careful. It caught a few drivers out. Like we say, Hamilton, I believe, has cleaned up his line into turn 9 and 10. He's taking more of the Max and Antonelli and Lando wider lines through there. And a shout out to Carlos Sainz as well, who I think is doing a mega job in these first 2 days. I wanted to just call out quickly a line that he's taking through turn 10, which I really like on the exit. So let's jump over to the whiteboard and have a look at that now. So I've just got turn 10 highlighted on the screen for you here. I've just drawn it as if you were to enter from down here. And what Carlos is doing, I'm not actually sure whether he's, meeting the apex here or doing what we saw with Antonelli, but the magic for me really is on the exit. So if I can just draw for you what most of the drivers would be doing, it's like the exit here and then kind of just go straight and meet up with the track. And I find it so lazy and so clumsy when drivers do this, because you're coming through here at 82 kilometers per hour. We've already seen that, right, on the telemetry. Downforce is not active at those speeds, right? Not as active. You can't bury your foot on the exit. You are limited by traction here. And by having additional steering in the car just through that little curvature on the exit there is going to cost you traction potential. So what I like that Carlos is doing, if I just draw it, say, for example, in blue, is that he's coming through here. And as he gets to the apex just here, he's really opening up the steering just for a fraction to be able to go straight for a bit first and then put the steering in and be able to then, once he's full throttle and the car's walking and moving forward, he's building speed and building downforce. He's got to full throttle, then he puts the steering in and goes where he wants to go. So Carlos really leveraging and taking advantage of basic steering and friction circle principles. Like we spoke about, when the steering wheel is turned, you don't have braking capacity. The same thing happens when the steering wheel is turned, you don't have throttle capacity either. So those are the sort of things that I wanted to call out to you, the mega job that Carlos is doing, and just how confident he is, how nicely he's driving. He's up there on the timesheets, and everything looks good if you're a Carlos and Williams fan. So look, that's all I wanted to recap for you guys. Obviously tomorrow I'm going to have a little more information come my way. We're going to see the PM session today as well. If you had a question, thought, or comment, definitely drop it in the comments section for me below. I look forward to answering your questions there. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.